Mr. Speaker, will you please call the House to order?
The House will come to order. In the absence of clergy, let us pause for a moment of silence. Visitors are invited to join the members in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. A quorum being present, the clerk will read the Journal of Tuesday, May 3rd. Mr. Morelli.
Mr. Speaker, I move to dispense with a further reading of the Journal of Tuesday, May 3rd, and that the same stand approved.
Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, sir. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, in just a moment, I'll try to outline our schedule for the day. Before I do that, let me just note a couple of important things that have happened on this day in history. For instance, on this day in 1927, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which brings us the Oscar Awards each year, was founded. On this day in 1961, the first Freedom Riders left Washington, D.C. for the Deep South to challenge the segregation of buses, which had been deemed unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court. And on this day in 1979, Margaret Thatcher became the first female Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Ms. Thatcher went on to be the longest-serving British Prime Minister of the 20th century and is still the only woman to have held that office. And I do note all this happened on this day because, of course, May the 4th be with you. And on that note, let me describe what our schedule for the day will be. After any introductions and housekeeping, and I know we do have some important introductions, we will continue our work on consent by beginning with calendar number 510. After that, our principal work for the day will be to take up a number of bills associated with the Earth Day package, which will be led by Mr. Engelbright and we may otherwise work from the calendar time permitting. Members should be aware that the following committee will be meeting off the floor at some point this afternoon. That's the Committee on Ways and Means. So members of the Ways and Means Committee should stay tuned for that announcement. With that as a general outline, Mr. Speaker, it would be appropriate now to take up any housekeeping, and I note the introductions.
Thank you, Mr. Morelli. We do have several pieces of housekeeping on a motion by Mr. Engelbright. Page 21, calendar number 229, bill number 6070A, amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Ms. Lepardo, page 22, calendar number 250, bill number 6568, amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Mr. Weapon, page 47, calendar number 513, bill number 2814A, amendments are received and adopted. For the purposes of an introduction, Mr. Palmisano.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, for allowing me to interrupt the proceedings of the House for the purposes of an introduction. Certainly for me, it's a privilege to welcome Dale and Dory Roby from Savona, New York, who are here in the chamber with us today. Mr. and Mrs. Roby are here advocating for change, as so many people do on different issues. Mr. and Mrs. Roby experienced a tragedy that none of us would want to face. They lost their four-year-old son, Derek, to a brutal murder back in 1993. They're up here trying to advocate for crime victims' rights, advocating for change to the parole system, trying to share about their personal tragedy to educate all of us on how this impacts them. And I just wish you could, welcome this family who has suffered so greatly and thank them for taking the time to come up here and share their personal tragedy and their story with us in hopes to affect change that will provide relief to victims and their families of horrific crimes. I'm wearing a button of Derek Roby on my chest, and I have it on my computer throughout the year to remember him. But their family lives with us every day. So if you could just please welcome this family and thank them for their courageousness and their braveness for coming out and speaking up on a tragedy that they experienced. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Palmisano, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly. We commit to you the privileges of the floor. We hope that your time here with us in Albany will have been illuminating to those who listen to that story. We wish you well on the work that you're doing to make it better for other people in the state. Thank you so very much. Mr. Lawler for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to welcome a friend of mine and a colleague of mine to the chamber today, County Legislator from Dutchess County, John Foreman. John represents the city of Beacon and the town of Fishkill, which is District 16. He chairs the Environmental Committee in the Dutchess County Legislature. He's up here today advocating on behalf of volunteer firefighters, and I hope you'll welcome him and extend all the cordialities of the chamber.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Lawler, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly. We commit to you the privileges of the floor. We're always happy to see a partner in government come and share his time and expertise with us. Hope your day today has been beneficial. Thank you. Mr. Murray for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And today is a day when we have many brave family members coming to visit us. Like the Robies, we have another brave family with us today, the Nappies. If I could have them stand up. There they are. We have Dr. Dawn Nappy and her husband Joseph Nappy, who have come up. They've been meeting with many of us in this chamber today. The Nappies suffered again, a terrible tragedy, one that we would not wish upon anyone. They lost their daughter Angelica in 2008 at the hands of a driver driving without a license, driving with a suspended license. And they are up here and they are advocating and meeting with everyone, both in this chamber and in the other chamber, to also push for change, for the better. I have nothing but admiration for them. Dr. Nappy, her perseverance, and Mr. Nappy, they've been incredible, what they've endured over the past several years, wishing and hoping that they could get their legislation through and they could get the change so that no other family would have to suffer the tragedy they did. I commend them for their perseverance, and we will continue to work together, and I know they've met with many members here to do the same. So if we could welcome them, I think we have other members that would also like to say a few words as well. Thank you.
Certainly, on the same subject, Mr. Graff.
I, too, would like to welcome Dawn Nappy and Joseph Nappy to the chamber. You know, they lost their daughter at 14 years old in 2008, and they turned that pain and anguish into advocacy. And they've been through the halls of Albany, and they've contacted many of our offices. And they're focused on making sure that other parents and other family members don't suffer the grief that they've gone through over these years. So they've been dedicated to make sure that they've dedicated themselves to make sure that this would never happen again. They proposed legislation and they've lobbied, many of us, to sign on and to pass this legislation. I can only hope that we can do it soon. And I want to thank them for coming to the chamber and visiting me in my office and calling my office. I'm fortunate because they live in the same town that I do and they're in my district. So with that, keep up the good work, keep fighting hard, and hopefully someday this will become a reality.
Ms. Maliatakis on the same topic.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I recently had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Nappy in my Brooklyn office, and they've told me their story. and it is one that is very heartbreaking. And we as legislators need to make sure that we do the right thing in this chamber. There's no reason why an individual who is driving with a suspended license, multiple times suspended license, receives almost no jail time for the murder of an individual with that vehicle. And I know there's been a lot of talk about vehicular safety. The mayor in our city has an initiative, and I think that this is certainly a legislation that we can support as a bipartisan group. And so I want to thank them for coming up, for being vocal, being aggressive, and working with as many legislators, whoever will speak to them about this issue. And I think it's something that we really can all get behind, regardless of what our party affiliation is. This is about doing the right thing and protecting people and punishing those who do not abide by the law. Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to see you. And Mrs. Nappy, Dr. Nappy, I look forward to meeting you because we have not met previously. Thank you so much for coming up to Albany and seeing us.
On behalf of Mr. Murray, Mr. Graff, Mr. Malliotakis, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome this courageous family here to the New York State Assembly. We commit to you the privileges of the floor. We appreciate that effort and time you have taken to come and spread and share your story with us. I hope you and wish you well. Thank you very much. Mr. Magnarelli for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for allowing me to interrupt the proceedings of the day to introduce to you the Syracuse University women's basketball team for this year. I just would like to go over a couple of the highlights. I think many of you, along with myself, enjoyed what was happening with Syracuse University this past basketball season. Not only the women's basketball team, but also the men's basketball team. But for the women, just some highlights. They went 30-8 this year. They ended up ranked number 3 in the country. They got into the NCAA tournament, and their first win was over Albany, a great team from New York State that was here just yesterday. Then they went on to the Sweet 16, beat top-ranked South Carolina 80-72, beat Tennessee 89-57, and then went on to a dominant win over Washington in the semifinals, 80-59. Unfortunately, we came up one short, but we'll get them next year. I'd like to take this time to introduce each of the members of the team and the people that are here with them. I want to start out, though, with their coach, Quentin Hilsman, who's here, who has done a fantastic job with not only this team, but with the entire program. The seniors are Cornelia Fondren, Taylor Ford, Maggie Morrison, Aliyah Paris. Juniors, Brittany Sykes, Bria Day, Brianna Day, Alexis Peterson, Isabella Slim, and Michelle Van Dyke. Sophomore, Danielle Minot. Freshman, Julia Chandler, Davita Dale, Abby Grant, Jade Phillips, Savannah Crocetti, and Brandy Fowler. Along with Coach Hilsman, we have Associate Head Coach Vaughn Reed, Assistant Coach Tammy Reese, Assistant Coach Cedric Salas, Director of Multimedia and Technology Ryan Nichols, Athletic Trainer Karen McKinney, Sports Information Director Anthony Prisco, Academic Coordinator Oliver Haney, Radio and Voice of Syracuse Women's Basketball Brian Higgins, which was a former, not our former colleague, by the way, Deputy Director of Athletics Kimberly Keenan Kirkpatrick, and a real favorite of mine who is in the chamber again, he's been here before, but All-American Floyd Little. Mr. Speaker, would you please congratulate this great team, its coaches and staff, and give them all the cordialities of the House for the day. Thank you.
On behalf of Mr. Magnarelli, the Speaker, and all the members, and you have already seen how they recognize greatness and support these wonderful and talented athletes who have dominated and maintained such a high level of performance for the state of New York. We are so proud to have you here, both your coaches, sir. You're a little dressed down today. I'm used to looking at you on television and saying, well, he really could put some threads together, right? But we are so happy to have you. We support you. We know that the lessons that you have learned in this sport will take you on into your regular life and will lead you well, and that those lessons of leadership and teamwork are going to be the ingredients of a successful career, whatever you may choose to do. We wish you well. We expect to see Syracuse back again next year, and next year you're going to take it. Thank you very much. Mr. Thiel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise for an introduction related to the same topic that Assemblymember Palmisano spoke to before with regard to a number of families that have traveled here to Albany today to lobby the legislature and to lobby the executive branch with regard to parole reform. And I am honored to be able.
We will allow that activity to complete before we and give your guests the proper respect. Proceed, Mr. Thiel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just to repeat, I rise on a matter similar to and for an introduction related to the same topic that Assemblymember Palmisano arose before, and that is a number of families that have traveled to Albany today to lobby the legislative branch and also the executive branch with regard to parole reform. And it is my pleasure to introduce one of those families that originally there were Long Islanders. They lived in Shirley, New York, in my district. They have now since moved to California, but they're here today on an extremely important matter, as Assemblymember Palmisano said, with regard to parole reform. And I'm here to introduce Joe and Marge Hennessy, whose daughter Lorraine Miranda was murdered in 1988. And they, too, are looking for changes in the parole system, not just for their situation, but for people in all of the state of New York. And as I say, they now live in California and were so dedicated that they came and came all the way from California to be here in Albany today to talk with regard to this issue. And I really appreciate them being here and ask you to offer them the cordialities of the House.
Certainly. On behalf of Mr. Thiel, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly. We commend you on such a long journey to come and advocate on behalf of those who can't advocate for themselves. We extend to you the privileges of the floor, and we hope that your time here will be beneficial and successful. Thank you very much. Mr. Saladino.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to make an introduction of a fine and brilliant man, Dr. William Connell. Dr. William Connell was the two-time commissioner of the New Jersey State Italian Heritage Commission. He holds a seat at Seton Hall University, where he teaches, and he holds the Lamada Chair in Italian Studies, as he is a Columbus scholar and historian. He's an author of a number of books, including the Rutledge History of Italian Americans. But today, Dr. Connell visits Albany as a guest of the State Italian American Legislators of New York, where he presented a symposium entitled, "Who's Afraid of Columbus?" Now, why this is so timely is because we're living in a time of some level of revisionism and a time when certain organizations are pushing back against the history of Columbus. Some folks have even asked, and we have a school district that is attempting to stop the holiday of Columbus Day. But what he's done is talked about the important history involved in Columbus and our nation. Specifically, things like the fact that in 1892, President Benjamin Harrison created the first National Columbus Day celebration. And it was done for a specific reason, and that reason was unity among people of diversity. See, at that time, in 1890, there was a massacre at Wounded Knee in South Dakota where many American natives were killed. Shortly after that, there was a lynching in New Orleans of 11 Italian Americans by a New Orleans mob in 1891, just 6 weeks later. It was actually the largest lynching of people in any one incident in all of American history. So what President Harrison intended was to get people to come together to understand that we are one people and that it's because of Columbus's courage and his cunning and intellect and his tremendous navigational skills. He came up with the plan to ride the trade winds and discovered the trade winds that would get a sailing ship from Europe to the New World. That we brought together one of the most important discoveries and endeavors, and Dr. Connell describes it as important as the creation of agriculture to the human existence on our planet, bringing together the old and new worlds. He also affirmed the documentation that proves that Columbus, while in the New World, specifically in the Caribbean, he tried, convicted, and hanged 2 white Spaniards for crimes against the indigenous people. When word of this got back to the king, Columbus was arrested, brought back to Spain in irons, and was imprisoned, losing his governorship, specifically the title of Admiral of the Ocean Sea. His extraordinary navigational skills and the fact he was not afraid of both the real and perceived dangers of sailing out past the parts known to Europeans at the time was the reason that the old and new worlds have been joined, and we know the history going forward of all that has been created right up to the internet. Now, people realize that with exploration and one culture coming to meet another culture, there's always a lot of bad that comes. There's always some of the more negative murder and some of the negatives that come along with that in any culture. So we're very thrilled to have Dr. William Connell here, and I appreciate your patience with my dissertation, but his information, his intellect, and his abilities are something we should all embrace because, as President Harrison said, we have so much more in common in our cultures, and Columbus Day is a celebration of the coming together of our cultures and our regions of the world. So I ask you to please extend to Dr. William Connell all of the benefits and all of the congratulations of this great house on behalf of our Italian-American members and all of those who have steeped in the great history of not only this state, but our nation and our world's history. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Saladino, Mr. Speaker, and all the members, Doctor, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly and commit to you the privileges of the floor and hope that you have a great time and enjoy yourself. And I gather you have pass on a great deal of education. Just want to know what grade you would give Mr. Saladino. Thank you so very much. Mr. Sturpey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Like Mr. Palmisano and Mr. Thiel, I also have a former constituent who's traveled from out of state to advocate for crime victims' families. She's no stranger to Albany and its chambers. Her name is Janice Grishaber-Geddes. In November of 1997, her daughter Jenna was brutally murdered. Janice took her pain and turned it into action here in Albany, which resulted in Jenna's Law. I'm sure this isn't fun, but it's something that's very important to families of victims. So could you please give your warm welcome and provide her with all the cordialities of the House?
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Sturpey, the Speaker, and all the members, welcome here. Janice, it is always good to see you. Thank you for joining us. You again extended the privileges of the floor, and we know you might not be feeling so well today. Go home and take care of yourself. Take care. Thank you very much. Mr. Benedetto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for letting me introduce some people who are up here today as guests of mine, because in another hour or so we'll be having a roundtable discussion on youth sports and injuries in youth sports. And they've been nice enough to travel up north to participate in this panel discussion. With us here in the chamber today is Mr. Wayne McDonald, who is with the New York University Professor of Studies for the Tisch Institute of Sports Management. Also with Mr. McDonald is Mr. Todd Slish, who is a sports editor for the Scarsdale Inquirer, an award-winning sports writer himself. And also with that group is somebody that many of us will probably know, because we probably cheered his exploits on the field with the New York Giants, winning the Super Bowl in 1986. One of the key members of that team, Football Hall of Famer, number 53, Mr. Harry Carson, is here today to participate in that panel. Mr. Speaker, can you please welcome these three fine members to Albany and our chamber and wish them the cordialities of the House.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Benedetto, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome you here to the New York State Assembly. We extend to you the privileges of the floor, and we are both pleased and blessed that you have come to share with us the information about youth sports industry, but also the fact that we have both Floyd Little and Harry Carson in the House at the same time. That's great. Thank you so very much. Mr. Morelli.